Alright, good afternoon folks. Today I'll be test riding the Harley Davidson Softail Street Bob 107 engine, which translates to 1754, I think. Probably need to check and get back to you on that. This comes with further forward mids, pillion seat, and a 13.5 litre tank. Today's ride, I'm just going to do my own impressions of what the brand new Softail is like. I've ridden a Softail before, which was the Crossbones, originally a separate swing arm on the back. Right now this has a mono shock, which can't really see at the present moment. I'm currently riding a Street Bob Dyna, which is a 103, and this is a 107. Standard controls, left, right indicator, your toggle to toggle through the various items that you can see over here. Let's just put it on. So you'll see the remaining mileage, time, RPMs, odometer, trip meters, and of course back to the remaining as well. The indicators, of course, are neutral and ABS and oil and so forth, which is normal. So I'm going to start this up. And I'm going to back this out. Okay, for today's ride, I'm going to, I'm going to say thank you to Emmeline from Harley Davidson for letting me test ride this bike. And the good thing is I wouldn't say good thing, I would have liked to have an accompanied ride. But this is an unaccompanied ride, and she's allowed me to take it and really have a good test run. On the bike. Interesting, it doesn't have the kind of click that you would expect from the normal V-twins. Right, so today this will be my test ride of the Street Bob Softail 107. This is the Milwaukee 8. As I said earlier, I'm riding a Street Bob Dyna, which is a 103, to see what the difference is. For me, probably one of the changes I'll probably make would be forward controls. Again, getting used to it, to the mid controls. Whoa, okay. The pickup's really very good. I was speaking to one of the sales executives, Money, earlier. And the difference between a 107 and a 114 is basically low to mids is much better, whereas the 114 has better mid to high. So how does that work in terms of ride experience? It will probably mean that urban riding, you will get better pickup, take off from the traffic lights and stop and go will be so much better. But it doesn't mean that touring would be an issue as well, because it's a 107, right? It's 1,700 cc's. Unlike the rest of the other models, this is a completely LCD screen. Everything that you see is on LCD, it will mean that literally having to look as opposed to glancing, because it's a bit small, to see the speed. But that's not an issue. I think in this bright sunlight, it's really very clear. Again, it's just me trying to get used to it, more so than anything else. Just like in every bike, getting accustomed to the way it handles. Controls on this bike is typical of Harley, right? You got your left and right indicator. On the left hand side, you have the top button right over here, which scrolls through your various indications, your odometer, your trip A, trip B, your time, your RPM, and of course, I don't think it shows your gears though. Then of course you have your high and low beam, and of course your flash, if you want to do a quick flash on your high beam for warning. On your right hand side, it's your ignition switch here, your hazard, and of course your start button. I think the gearing is a little bit high. From first to second, you literally have to flick it up a little bit harder. In terms of ride positioning, again, I think it's a comfortable bike. The seat feels comfortable. Again, haven't really done long distance on it, so won't really know till someone's really tried, but I've been assured that actually the stock seat already is pretty good for distance riding. Now that I've gotten a little bit used to the mid controls, I think it's pretty comfortable. Again, urban riding, this is perfect. Long distance, there's a highway bar that's already attached to this, so I don't know. Again, it's about preference. And you know, if long distance, you can always put your feet up on the highway bar that's already here. I can hear the exhaust note from this machine, and it sounds typically Harley. Again, it's stock, and again with the standards imposed for Euro 4 and so forth would mean that it will be quieter. It's got a lot of power. So how does this differ from the Dyna, from riding my Dyna? It was correct to say that the low to mids were really very good, because when I did a similar acceleration on my Street Bob, there was a little lag in pickup. But this power and torque on this bike is really, you could feel the pickup, you could feel the response. This is also just like my Street Bob. I believe it's a Mini A, 14 inches as well. But it seems a little lower. But again, that could be just me. Okay, I was wrong. There actually is a gear indicator. If you look there on the LCD on the right, it's actually my gear indicator. So that's pretty standard. I mean, I would only use it in initial stage to know the RPMs against gear. I know the manual suggests that at 80 and above you should be on the 6th gear, but I noticed that you know, 1,800 RPMs would mean that it seems like it's lagging, you know, and I don't know if it's a good idea to maintain that gear. But again, I find that the response on this bike is really superior. Not overly uncomfortable in the mid controls. I decided to switch lanes to keep to within the speed limit. Now, the one thing about the new Softails, they're on a 13.5. Again, I would have to check if that is the accurate. I know it's 3.5 gallons. I'm not sure how it converts to. But in all fairness to Harley, they claim that the new performance of the engine, together with the better fuel consumption, would mean that I would still get a good range on the fuel tank, even though it's far less than the older models, right, which were 17 to 17.5 liters. It handles well. Oh, it's not, and surprisingly not as heavy as my bike. Again, I think it's 230 odd kilos against my 300, which surprisingly makes a difference. How's that for response? Okay, so the Softails. Now, what makes this different from the previous Softail that I used to have? The old Softails used to have a separate swing arm to which the suspension was attached to. This one has a monoshock, and on the right hand side you literally can do a simple preload. You don't have to take out any tools. You won't have to know which notch that you need to turn to be able to know what preload setting you're on, right? So this is clearly marked, I think 1 to 4. Yeah, I knew this guy's going to do that, so let him go. And pretty simple. Haven't tried it myself. Don't think I would. I'll leave it as it is. But like I said, it's easier to do so. Imagine for the Softail to do the preload, you would literally, the old Softails, you would literally have to put in a ramp to literally change the preload on your suspension. And that would probably be a hassle, right? Haven't really hit any serious bumps. I'm not going to purposely look for
bumps and all that to see how the suspension handles. But I think there's one good test in a minute where we hit the Salita Reservoir dam side. There are a lot of strips, and the strips are pretty high. I don't really feel it on my Street Bob, but when I used to ride the 400X and other bikes, I would actually bounce on those things, so I had to literally slow down and so forth. Okay, here's an opportunity, a manhole. Okay, I felt that. Again, wasn't really that bad. Normally for my other bikes, I will take pains to avoid it. So in terms of suspension, it seems pretty good, but the real test will be the strips in a minute. That's really good riding weather. I can't say very much else about this particular Street Bob, the new Softail, other than it's really responsive, comfortable to ride. I think the mid controls actually seem alright. You know, I think as in everything else, it's just a matter of getting used to it. I just want to see how it feels like. Nice response. There's power to go. Seriously, I mean, I didn't have to twist too hard to get it going like I did just now. Just a little twist, and I had the power to come. That was on demand. Amazing. Okay, so we're on the Salita West link, and now we're heading towards Avenue 1. And this is the place where I was telling you about the strips. Right, so here's a chance to feel what it's like. But again, I suspect that this is the factory loading on the suspension. Obviously, you can get something softer or harder, because I don't know what the setting is at the present moment. What a view, right? Okay, so we're coming to the strips now. Oh, I didn't feel that at all. You know, on my Street Bob, I would still feel a little bit. You know, I know it's there, a little bit of a bounce, but I felt nothing, man. Here we go, one more round. Nothing, nothing. Nice suspension. I don't think that you will be able, you want to do very many changes to this bike, other than cosmetic, to change the way you feel. If you want the rail bubble look, you change the seat, but you know, I probably won't suggest that if you decide to go a long distance. That's not going to be helpful. So it depends on you. And of course, the most important thing that most Harley owners will do, change the exhaust. Again, I don't know if there is an aftermarket exhaust that's LTA approved for this. I'll probably check with Gerald on the way back. Oh, I like the way it turns. Okay, I must say, this is a confidence-inspiring bike. When I first had my Street Bob, I wasn't that confident in taking those kind of turns. And now we're heading back. So again, I don't know. Oh, so I have a really wide turn. Again, I don't know if I'm sure it's me, right? But shifting from first to second, that was a little bit hard in the sense that I hit a neutral a couple of times. Right? Again, I think the gearing is a bit higher, maybe, as opposed to, again, my Street Bob. I should be comparing too much with my Street Bob. I think this bike speaks for itself. I love the power on this. I love the response. The brakes are pretty good. Suspension is good. I'm sure that it's really good, but I think in this particular bike, I think they need to adjust the thing a little bit more because I'm really feeling some of it. But again, it doesn't detract from the comfort of the ride. Take a look at that. Yeah. Here's my impression of the mid control. So now I've just done, I don't know, 20 kilometers to here, and now I'm just doing a U-turn and getting back. Already 20 kilometers in the mid controls for me. I'm not saying for anybody else. I'm starting to feel a little discomfort at my knee. Now, I am 1.79, 1.8, which translates to 5'11", maybe in his boots 6 feet. My feet are, or should I say my legs are about 90 degrees, right? The position you would be in if you sit on a normal chair. Now, if this bike was a little bit higher, in fact my knees are slightly above the tank, so actually this is not a comfortable position for me. If you are a shorter rider, I think this will be fine. So guys, 5'10", 5'11", 6 feet and above, I think forward controls. Okay, because you're going to be riding most of the time and you're not going to put your feet up on the highway bar. That's only if you're cruising long distances with no traffic, right? But not a good idea if you're just everyday riding. I can feel it, man. Wow, hear that? That's awesome. That was awesome. It's almost got a sports bike feel to it. You know, I like the way it tracks. It tracks very well. One more thing, I think, again, for me, probably another thing that we should change is the seat. I was saying it's comfortable in initial stage, and that the new seats are comfortable. I mean, this is plush. You could feel it's nice and soft. But I think the size of the seat is not conducive for long distances for me. I emphasize again, nothing to do with the Harley design. Again, the the good thing about Harley Davidson motorcycles is that you can always change it up, customize it, add stuff that you want to put to it, either for aesthetics or for comfort, right? I'm a very practical person, so to me, comfort is important, right? Especially when one of the reasons why I got a Harley was to do long distances. So mid controls to forward for me, and the seat, you know. So this is something that you probably have to think about when you're deciding on a bike. Do this kind of thing, test ride, right? Get to know what is it that you really want. Do you want more power, right, in a 107 for urban riding? Do you want good cruising power, right? So then it's a 114, right? Better mid to highs. Do you want an aggressive stance? Mid controls. If you want comfort over long distance, forward controls. If you're gonna ride only in the city, you're gonna ride in Singapore most of the time, maybe twice a year, up north or so, then the seat's fine. But whatever, the bigger pan seat would be better, right? I'm not sure what the size of the seat is, but I would think a 14-15 inch base would be much better, more comfortable, right? But then again, you know, I've known people, and in fact my A3R, when I had it before, I kept the stock seats and I took it to Thailand. It was a testament in the iron butt rides, but you still could do it, right? At that time I didn't really know better, but I did change it out to Mustang seats and so forth for comfort, because that's me. I'm a practical person, and for me, getting a bike, it's all about the long distance ride and comfort, right? Because I want to enjoy the ride. I don't want to be thinking about just getting to the destination so I can get a rest. Because you're supposed to enjoy the ride. You're supposed to, you know, no matter how far or how long, be happy with the ride. Do your stops if you need to stop for whatever reason, but, you know, be comfortable, right? But, so, I think this bike has a lot of, how do I put it? A lot of opportunities for change. It's all about you and what you want to do. But off the bat, I could say, hell yeah, the power is excellent. Again, it feels like I'm riding a race bike for the tactile response on the throttle. Again, I don't really have to have a big twist to get it up. I'm not saying that my 103, I have to do that, but you know, you can feel it, it's not immediate, right? But this, look at that, beautiful. And again, I don't know if the mic is picking it up, but actually there's a nice note to it. You can hear the sound, right? Exhaust. If you're not a traditionalist, keep it stock. Right? Those people who want the thump and the potato of Harley Davidson, then hopefully they have a LTA approved pipe. Change it. Right? Again, it's all about you. Would I recommend this bike? Yes. Hell yes. I like this bike. Right. Again, there are no more diners, and this is named after a diner, but it's really a Softail. And I think Harley's done an interesting job on this bike. Anyway, this is the first time I'm riding on a Milwaukee 8, so I can't attest to what the older Milwaukee 8s are like. Just like the 103s, they have the regular 103s and they have the high output 103s, right? So I assume that mine is a high output one. But again, gear ratios would make the difference in terms of response and power. I think this is an excellent urban machine. Now, after riding for quite a bit on this bike, I feel confident as opposed to when I was first taking it out of HDS. I'm really comfortable on this bike. But again, I won't do super long distances with the mid controls. And I suppose, you know, to me, they're always saying that pick a Harley for its purpose, right? You want to go super long distance touring, get the touring models, you know, but people have done long distances on the Sportster, right? It's about you and the bike personality. There will only be certain factors that you have to think about in terms of long distance is fuel capacity, right? And that's a consideration. Touring models, I think, are 20 liters maybe? Again, I would have to check, but it makes a difference. If you're going long distance and there's no traffic and you're comfortable, doing 200 kilometers to a stop is pretty normal, right? On this 13-liter tank, again, I'm not sure what the consumption is like and how far it will go on a full tank, but I think you need the comfort level to know that if for whatever reason that your planned rest stop had no petrol station or is closed for whatever silly reason, you know you have enough capacity and that guy almost hit that car. Really, guys, I'm sorry. I mean, if you're tired or you're distracted, don't drive. That's a silly thing to do. What was I saying? Yes, right. So, I think one of the major considerations is fuel, right? Again, in general, for us, when we ride, we normally do 170, 180, and rest stop, which is normally Pago or slightly further up. The AA3 tank could make it. This guy can make it. You know, but I think you want the peace of mind. A 48 is not the tank size of the 7 liters. It's not something you would think about to go. You can go long distance, I did it. I mean, but it will mean that you have to stop more often. You will have to be very conscious of your petrol state, and I think that's really something that you don't want to be doing on a ride. You know, you want to enjoy, have a good time with your friends, right? So 13.5, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. You know, anyway, you shouldn't be doing too long. You need to rest, right? Get a coffee, have a cigarette. Well, hey, there is that sound. You know, so I think still the Softail line is still good to go for touring. I think the mirror placement is perfect as well. I can see very clearly. Wow, I love the response on this bike. So we're almost back to Harley Davidson. Let's sum up my thoughts. This is a confidence-inspiring bike to ride. It has enough power to get up and go. It's comfortable. It has decent amount or decent size fuel tank. Brakes are good. It's very responsive. No vibrations. How about that? I know my 103 does the shimmy shake at the traffic light. Don't feel anything at all. Getting neutral is easy. I don't feel the strain. If you notice that I hardly did any stops, literally. This is probably one of the longest stops I did in that whole entire ride. So I was riding most of the time. No discomfort in the positioning of the handlebars. Again, for me and for my height, I do feel a bit of discomfort in the knees because of the mid controls, but that's just me. Suspension wise, good. Right, the strips was a good test, although I did feel some of the manholes and stuff. But it's adjustable, right? So again, I would think that this monoshock suspension is akin to sports bikes, so you get that kind of response, right? But again, the better the suspension, the better the tracking of the bike. Really want to get away from this guy because you saw him do something that illegal, and I felt that again. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm not doing that on purpose, but this particular road has a lot of manhole, and yeah, I could feel that. So it's not as doesn't exhaust much of that, but again, like I said, everything is adjustable. I'm sure that the stock settings is just for the basic settings. I think if you want to set it harder, you can. I'm very sure. We're almost there back in Harley Davidson. So yes guys, I recommend this bike. It is good urban bike, great if you want to go touring. I'm not sure if some of the parts are already available, luggage rack, sissy bar, and the other types of luggage, but of course there are other luggages out there depending on your style of riding that you could put on, that you don't have to worry too much. Stuff that you can strap on, like the Krieger range, or the D-Spec range, that's modular. And honestly, for guys, come on, you're not going to be carrying your house. 30 liters, 40 at the max is more than enough for you, I would think. what do you really need to put inside? So again, it's all about looks and what you want to strap on. I'm sure the catalog and Harley catalog probably has a good range that you can choose from, that you want to, I don't know, change the looks. And I'm back. So anyway, let me know what you think. You can please give me your comments, and of course do subscribe if you can. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this particular ride. I'd like to shout out again to Emmeline for helping me organize this.